I want to start by telling you that I don't scare easily. I served 2 tours overseas. I've been in situations most people would consider far more objectively dangerous than walking through an empty building. This is the only thing from my entire adult life that I still can't put away. I work in demolition now, civilian work, since I got back. Mostly commercial buildings, sometimes old schools when a district consolidates and a building gets condemned. My company had a contract to take down Lindholm Elementary, a school that had been closed for 6 years after declining enrollment shut it down. Standard job. Strip the interior of anything salvageable, document asbestos locations for the abatement crew, then schedule the actual demolition. I was sent to do the interior walkthrough alone on a Monday morning. Just documentation, photos, notes, nothing physical yet. The demolition crew wouldn't start for another 2 weeks. I'd done dozens of these walkthroughs. I wasn't worried about being alone in an empty school. The building was unremarkable for the first hour. Standard elementary school layout, classrooms along 2 long hallways, a gymnasium, a cafeteria, administrative offices near the front entrance. 6 years of abandonment had left it in predictable condition. Water damage in the ceiling tiles. Graffiti from kids who'd broken in over the years. Desks and chairs still arranged in some rooms, exactly as they'd been left the day the school closed. I photographed each room methodically. Room number, condition notes, hazard flags if needed. I got to the east hallway around 10 a.m. Kindergarten and first grade classrooms, based on the height of the coat hooks and the faded alphabet borders still clinging to the walls in places. Room 114 was different from the others. The desks in every other classroom had been pushed to one side, or knocked over, or simply left scattered. 6 years of nobody caring how a room looked. In room 114, the desks were arranged in a perfect circle. Not approximately. Precisely. 22 small desks, equally spaced, forming a complete circle in the center of the room, facing inward. I stood in the doorway for a long moment. I told myself a maintenance crew had done this at some point, staging the room for storage or some final activity before the school closed permanently. It was a reasonable theory. I photographed it and moved on. 2 rooms later, I found another circle. Same precision. Different room, different desk count. This one had 14 desks, also arranged in a perfect circle, also facing inward. I checked my photographs from room 114 against this one. The spacing between desks was identical, down to what looked like inches. I finished the east hallway. 2 more rooms had the same configuration. For classrooms total, all with desks arranged in identical circles, all facing inward toward an empty center. The other rooms in the building, 11 additional classrooms, showed no such pattern. Desks scattered normally, the way you'd expect from 6 years of decay and break-ins. Only those 4 rooms. All on the same hallway. I called my supervisor from the parking lot. Described what I'd found. He had no explanation, said the district hadn't mentioned anything about staged rooms, and as far as he knew, no maintenance work had been authorized since the closure. He told me to keep documenting. I went back inside. I want to describe what happened next as precisely as I can, because I've gone over it many times trying to find an alternate explanation, and I haven't found one I believe. I went back to room 114 to take additional photographs of the circle from a different angle. The circle had changed. It wasn't disrupted, it wasn't knocked over or rearranged into chaos. It had simply gotten smaller. The same 22 desks, still in a precise circle, still facing inward, but the diameter had shrunk by what I'd estimate as 2 or 3 feet. I had been in the parking lot for no more than 4 minutes. I left the building immediately. I sat in my truck for a long time before I could make myself call my supervisor back. I didn't go back inside that day. I told my supervisor I needed someone else to finish the walkthrough, that I'd hit something I couldn't explain and didn't want to be alone in that building again. He sent 2 other guys the next day, both experienced, both not particularly inclined towards superstition. They found the same 4 circles in the same 4 rooms. They didn't witness anything change while they were there, but they noted in their report, independently of each other, that the circles felt deliberate and recent, despite the building having been sealed and empty for 6 years with no recorded access. The demolition proceeded on schedule 2 weeks later. I requested not to be on that crew. My supervisor didn't ask why. I've thought about those 4 rooms for 3 years now. What I keep returning to is the precision. A circle that forms by accident, through decay, through animals, through wind moving through broken windows, doesn't maintain inch-perfect spacing across 22 separate desks. That requires intention, measurement, time. And the circle I watched shrink in the span of 4 minutes requires something I genuinely don't have a framework for. I don't know what was using those rooms, or why, or what it meant for the desks to face inward toward an empty center. I think about it most when I think about what those 4 classrooms might have been doing, quietly, for 6 years before anyone came back to check. Whether they'd been doing it the entire time. Whether they're still doing it now, in whatever's left of that property, even after we tore the building down to nothing. That's it for tonight. New story every week, subscribe if you want more. And if your job ever takes you into a building that's been empty for years, pay attention to anything arranged with too much precision. Decay is chaotic. Intention isn't.